Sometimes I'm asked how I got the opportunity to do commentaries and ultimately to do commentaries for WBUR and NPR and ultimately host Only a Game. And sometimes I'm asked that question in classrooms where I go to speak to impressionable youngsters. And the teachers always expect that the answer will be that I studied very hard and right. But in fact, the way I got the job was I was writing a newspaper column for the not entirely lamented Boston Ledger, and I listened to WBUR and I really liked BUR. I thought they were doing some interesting stuff, and so I thought, well, maybe I could do commentaries for BUR. And so I started recording my newspaper columns into an old cassette recorder and then sending the cassettes to Carol Ersman, who was then the news director at WBUR, and I never heard a thing. And I sent them in a couple of times a month and never heard a thing and never heard a thing. And then one day I turned on WBUR. I have to hesitate for a moment. Is there anybody in the audience who's related to Alan Dershowitz? A neighbor or a close friend, somebody who is out of jail today because of Alan Dershowitz? Okay, that's good. Because Alan Dershowitz was doing a sports commentary for WBUR. And it was about the Celtics, the beginning of the Celtics season. And it was just awful. And so I wrote a letter to Carol Ersman, and I said, look, if you want to ignore my stuff, it's up to you. I'm sure that lots of people write in and think they should be on the radio, but for God's sake, get Alan Dershowitz off the radio because an embarrassment. He may be a terrific lawyer, and he may one day run a wonderful delicatessen, but as far as I can tell, he has no business doing sports commentaries. And 48 hours later, I got a phone call from Carol's intern saying, Carol wants you should come in here. And the tone of the whole thing was, put up or shut up, pal. And so I came in, and I had two commentaries. One was on opening day at Fenway Park. The other was on the Boston Marathon. And they bought them both. And I recorded them, and then Carol said, now in 6 months or so, when something else important happens in sports, you be sure to come back. And that sounded like a kind of a sketchy proposition, so 3 days later I called and I said, something very important has happened in sports, I better come in right away. And I have no idea what it was, I can't remember, but the answer to how I got my job was I wrote a real smart-ass letter. And that's the advice I give to children, and that's why I'm never invited back.